Hey, what's up, you guys, and welcome back to the Televised Podcast. My name is Anna, and today we're going to be talking about Supergirl Season 6, Episode 9, titled Dream Weaver. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really, really good. I think, obviously, Ozzy and Kelly was, like, such a highlight of this episode. Obviously, Nia did, had a really wonderful part to play in this episode as well. But before we really get into that, I want to talk about some new episode titles that were released. A couple episodes ago, maybe it was during my trailer breakdown. It was two episodes ago. I talked about some of the upcoming titles for some of the episodes, and now we have some more. So season 6, episode 13 is going to be titled The Gauntlet. Season 6, episode 14 is called Magical Thinking. Spoiler alert, but it's highly suspected that Lena is going to somehow acquire magic at some point in the girl, I don't know, but at some point she's gonna get some magic. So I think that 614 is gonna be like a really Lena heavy episode about her journey with magic, so that'll be really interesting. Spoilers are over. So 615 is called Hope for Tomorrow. That's a classic Supergirl-ish sounding title. 616 is called Nightmare in National City. That's really interesting. If I had to guess, it probably has something to do with Nixley, who's going to be around for the foreseeable future until the end, I presume. Because she, in conjunction with Lex, are basically, I think, going to be the main villains that we're dealing with this season. So Nightmare in National City probably has something to do with Nixley, and potentially even something to do with Nia, because obviously Nightmare, sleeping, dreaming, Nia, dreamer, all of those connections. And then episode 617 is titled I Believe in a Thing Called Love. Guys. Supercorp Endgame in 617. Supercorp Kiss in 617. I'm calling it now. Don't at me if it doesn't happen, but if it does happen, do at me. Because that's, what other reason? I mean, because I think we all figure, based on some of the spoilers that have been coming out, and just like the set pictures from like the finale, I'm assuming Dance and Wedding isn't going to happen until the finale. So like, I Believe in a Thing Called Love is not going to be, the Dance and Wedding episode. Like, it has to be something else, like it has to be Supercorp. I don't know. I mean, listen, take everything I say with a grain of salt, except for the titles, because those are true and they were released today. But I mean, I just can't imagine another scenario for having that episode title be relevant. I don't know. Anyway, though, I think that's all of the... Oh, and there was also... Listen, today was a horrible day. Dickinson is not going to be around anymore after season 3, which is so upsetting. Yeah, I'm very upset about it. So I don't want to talk about it. But it was very upsetting to find that news out today. But anyway, let's talk about Supergirl, Season 6, Episode 9, Dream Weaver. So we start this episode off with Nia in this, like, dream forest with, like, trees and birds. And we actually see her mother walking away from her. And then we see Nixley emerge from the shadows. Nia kind of like tries to like chase after her mom, and Nixley like comes out of the shadows like behind her all creepy, and I'm like, not this bitch. So then we cut to game night at Alex and Kelly's new place, which is so cute. I really love the new place. I couldn't tell if it was like a house or an apartment. Like I didn't pay too much attention. If you caught like a glimpse out the window, did you all see, like, is it a house? Is it an apartment? I don't know, but I do like it, and I think it's very cute. And Danson are literally destroying everybody in these games and are just being like sickeningly adorable. It's it's like beyond cheesy at this point, you know what I mean? Like Alex and Kelly are like, yeah, we just love living together. We finish each other's sandwiches. Like, ugh, oh my god, you guys are so cute. It's sickening. So Nia actually during this game night is acting a bit off, and she says that she really hasn't been sleeping well since Brainy's been off taking Zor-El to Argo. I did get a couple comments last week pointing out the fact that he can't just open a portal to Argo. I do remember that now. I just genuinely could not remember what was the method they were using to get him back home, so I just made something up and hoped that it was right, but it wasn't. So anyway, Brainy had to like physically take him there. He had to give him a ride in the Legion ship, so that's why he was absent from this episode, and Nia has been missing him. So then they also talk actually about Lena's absence, with Kara saying that she's still out east. And they're trying to like, Kara says that she's still trying to find out this info about her birth mother. And Kara and Nia are both missing their like perfect partner at a game night. They're both missing their perfect partner at a game night. And it's very interesting too that they didn't just like stick Kara with Jean, especially because she like fully shot him down when he suggested that they team up. He was like, oh, well, maybe, you and Lena can team up when we get here. And Kara's like, no, she's not here. She's not coming. She's out east. And then they also end up mentioning Kelly's new job. And she says her new case is a young alien with EMP powers whose only family is a brother in jail. So we then cut to Catco, where Andrea is asking what the Super Friends do for fun, if they even have fun, and she's doing this like presentation. She's having this TED Talk in front of William, Nia, and Kara, and they're like, hello, how are we supposed to like get in touch with them? They don't exactly have a hotline. And she says, stalk them, project a big S in the sky, jump off a bridge, do whatever you can to get the story. And so in the middle of Andrea insisting like that they just like put themselves in harm's way in order to get the coverage for these Super Friends stories, Nia straight up falls asleep standing up. And honestly, this is one thing that I've kind of missed about Catco is her little narcolepsy bit. Like, because that was her cover at the beginning. She's like, I have narcolepsy. I just fall asleep all the time. So she falls asleep standing up, and Andrea tells her to leave and take a mental health day, which I actually really appreciated seeing her kind of not be, I mean, she was kind of mean. She was like, don't sleep on my time, sleep on your own time. But she also was like, go home, get some sleep, because you're standing here sleeping, standing up, like, go home, take a mental health day. So I really appreciated them showing that. But she ends up also pushing for Kara and William to get a Supergirl interview as soon as possible. And while they're walking away, Jean reaches out to Supergirl via comms, who replies to him and says, I'm on my way. And Willie says, oh, to where? And she says, to go pound the pavement. And honestly, again, this is why it's so fun to have somebody on the show who doesn't know that Kara is Supergirl, because you just get this like god tier comedy. Of like the back and forth, and of Kara like failing to conceal the fact that she's Supergirl, and her fumbles and her lies, and just these like really goofy moments that are always so synonymous with Supergirl and Superman and those kind of characters who lead these double lives. And Supergirl has always done that in a really fun and campy way, except for when it comes to Lena. But, for every other character, it's always really been this like fun, campy moment, and I love that. And I don't know, I like William as this like goober who doesn't know that Kara is Supergirl, and then Kara gets to like goof up in front of him. I like that. I think the dynamic is really fun. So Jean and Kara arrive on the scene of a truck robbery where they find that Metalamites and Obscurians, these alien names are so dumb, are working together to build a bomb. With Kelly, she arrives at her new case's home to actually like talk with Joey and like get to know him and actually like speak with him for the first time. And while Kelly is there, we end up meeting this adorable little girl. She's so cute. Her name is Esme, and she is just like the most adorable little girl I've ever seen in my life. And she runs into Kelly, and because apparently this other little girl in the home stole her bread or something, and she says, like, she makes this like grand speech about justice. She's like, this is a matter of justice and following the rules and everything. And before running off, we find out her name and that all of the children in this foster home for aliens wear power dampening cuffs to suppress their powers so that this woman running the foster home can like handle them better. But this little girl, and spoilers, is gonna become the dancing kid. Like, she's the kid that they adopt, and I love that. She is so cute, and I don't think that we could have gotten a better introduction to her than this episode. And especially just like this really wonderful moment of like, and I'll talk about this more later because it gets more relevant later, but like where she like really admires and kind of like picks Kelly to be her mom, as at the same time that I think Kelly is going to end up picking her to be her daughter. She truly admires Kelly, and I think that's such a wonderful foundation for this relationship. They could not have gotten this more right. That's the cool thing about how this is all going to play out. I genuinely don't think they could have done this better. They couldn't have. This is wonderful. And so moving further into the home, Kelly finds out from Joey that his brother seemed like he was overworking himself in prison, and he's worried that he might die because of it. And Kelly, she like tries to get him to open up, talking about her relationship with James. She calls him Jimmy, and I refuse to call him Jimmy, but like she says that even though James is so brave and older than her and her big brother, she still worries about him all the time, trying to like appease to Joey or like to comfort Joey about his concerns about his brother Orlando, who is in prison. And I really love this moment between Kelly and this little boy. This little boy, he like tugged on my heartstrings. He was such a good actor. And it was just so wonderful to see him have this interaction with Kelly, because Kelly can like so clearly understand the dynamic between siblings because of how James and his history of like protecting Kelly over the years and what he sacrificed in order to make Kelly to make sure Kelly was safe. Like if we think back to that one episode for James where we found out that he was like trapped in a coffin for like hours or whatever, and that's why he missed his dad's funeral. And he kept that from Kelly to protect her, and I think Kelly kind of sees a bit of herself in this little boy and probably a bit of James in Orlando, which is really nice. So at the tower, Kara, Alex, and Jean discuss the bomb that's being built when Kelly shows up. She is kind of distraught, and she fills them in on Orlando and Joey and asks for Kara's help, since she actually did an article on the Second Chances Work Release program that Orlando is a part of, that Joey thinks that is causing him to like use his powers and deplete him to the point of exhaustion. And Kara's like, I don't understand, like why he would be using his powers, because it's apparently this program is through a fashion company or like a clothing company. They make clothes, a clothing manufacturer. I couldn't get there, but I got there. A clothing manufacturer. And Kara's like, I don't understand how or why he would use his EMP powers, but let's go to the jail and we'll talk to the warden because I know that guy. So they actually go off, Kelly and Kara as a little team, to go to the jail, and Alex and Jean stay behind trying to still investigate the root of these missing materials and beyond, kind of like bomb watch. And one thing too that I really enjoyed about this episode was the dynamic between Kelly and Kara. It was just so wonderful, especially thinking back to the season 2 episode titled Alex, where Kara and Maggie just butt heads the entire episode. Maggie just like shits on Kara the whole time, says, I'm more important to Alex than you. It should have been me. It should be me who makes the calls, whatever. That whole entire dynamic and that whole entire episode proves to me that, like, it proved to me well before we knew that Sanvers was not going to be endgame, you know, but it proved to me then that, like, this was not going to work. If you're Alex Danvers and your girlfriend doesn't get along with your sister, you're going to kick your girlfriend to the curb. Like, sorry, girlfriend, but you have to go. And so that was so wonderful to watch as we see Kelly and Kara have this wonderful dynamic, be able to work together outside of Alex. That, like, this situation has nothing to do with Alex. It's just Kara helping Kelly because she loves Kelly as a person and as her sister's girlfriend and as someone she loves and trusts and wants to help and sees somebody who is also a hero in her own right, you know? And I just love that. Again, that's another thing in this episode that I just don't think that they could have done better. Like, they did it and it happened and it was wonderful, you know? So at Nia's place, she's actually looking at a scrapbook of her and her mom when she goes back to the dreamscape. This time, Nixley actually reveals herself to Nia and saves her from, like, a flock of ravens or something. It's kind of like, it's very fairy tale, Brothers Grimm up in that dream world. She tells Nia that she crashed her dreams, but not on purpose, and that she needs help. And she gives Nia a full stop story about how some evil man stole her powers, trapped her here, and she's an imp, and all she wants to do is go back to the fifth dimension to see her brother and father, who she misses just so much. And it's just a crock of shit. Like, it's just a load of bullshit. And it's so interesting to me because I'm like, oh my God, what version of her story is true, you know? Like, was it the one that she told Kara? Was it the one that she told Nia? And obviously, I think we know that it was, you know, whatever the most sinister version of the story is what the truth is for Nixley. But she's so manipulative. It's kind of creepy because you're like, wait, maybe she did turn over this new leaf, but we know who this bitch is, and we know exactly what she does and how she treated Kara. So it's really interesting to watch her interactions with Nia in this episode. And she actually tells Nia that if Nia helps her, she can bring her mom back from the dead, but for 24 hours. Which is a lot. And based on the trailer, and obviously based on the end of the episode, it actually comes to fruition, but obviously we don't know, like, the ramifications of that kind of magic and that kind of, I mean, as Nia talks about, like, that kind of disturbance in the universe. She's like, listen, that's illegal in terms of, like, the universe, the rules and laws of the universe. We can't do that. But obviously, as the episode goes on, her shields kind of get broken down, but it's a deal that Nia can almost not refuse, you know? And before she can actually refuse or accept, an owl whisks Nixley away and Nia wakes up. So at the prison, Kara and Kelly talk to the warden about that Second Chances program. Apparently, Kara's article inspired a lot of sponsors, and he tells them that the program brings about a new life to these people. And honestly, it sounds great. I mean, you know, get a job and you can work and have these new opportunities, and you provide, like, like the title suggests, a second chance to people who have found themselves in prison. And, you know, I mean, us in the real world, you know, there's a lot of conversation now about exploitation in the prison system and how prisons are almost, and actually basically are, indentured servitude because of how little they make for what kind of labor they do. But anyway, at this point, he's kind of like waxing poetic about it. And he tells them that aliens are continually monitored on the work site and that he'll check into Orlando. He doesn't imagine that there was an instance where he was using his powers, but he'll look into it. And they ask him, can we see Orlando? And he's like, nope, you got to make a reservation 2 weeks in advance. And he's like, haha, maybe you could write about the red tape. And Kara and Kelly are like, yeah. It was such a funny moment because they're both like, yeah, sure. And but anyway, though, so they ignore that, though, and they head to the reception desk where Kara actually uses her heat vision to, like, burn a little hole in the bottom of the receptionist's mug so that her coffee spills all over this paperwork, and she's like, I'm such klutz, I'll be right back. And so then while she's gone, Kara uses her super speed to around and add them into the computer, like as if they had made that reservation 2 weeks in advance. But while Kara's behind the screen, she sees that Orlando is actually on his way to work, and so it's pointless to like try and go see him because he's not there. And it's actually, there's a really funny line where Kelly's like, are you sure that we should be doing this? Like, are you sure this will work? And Kara's like, you do remember them, Supergirl. And then, so they see Orlando, they leave the prison, and they see him get on the bus, and Kara flies off to follow him. She uses her X-ray vision and sees that the aliens are separated from the other prisoners, like the human prisoners, and taken to a different site where Jean actually ends up arriving as well, because he had gotten like a signature or like something, I can't remember. So he believes that this place is where they're going to strike next, the robbers and the people who are trying to build the bomb. So both of their missions are like colliding in this moment. And I think that's another strength of this episode, is that it had two very distinct A and B plots. And the mystery kind of like all ties itself together. And then Nia has the B plot of being, in the dream. But the storylines with like Kelly and Kara and John and Alex, and even like the Catco aspect of it all comes together in the end, and I think that worked really well. So Kara's superhears, she used superhearing to hear that the prisoners are being forced to steal against their will and that they're building a dirty nuke. And Kara and John try to stop them, but they get away before that can happen. So the warden goes on TV and says that the prisoners have escaped and have taken the guard hostage, but the Super Friends know better. Alex says someone must have infiltrated the prison program. Girl, it was the prison. The prison is the one exploiting the aliens. Come on now. I know that you worked for the government for for a long time, but like, come on now. You worked for a corrupt government organization. Like, come on, Alex, put the pieces together. Anyway, though, she's like, oh my god, someone must have infiltrated it. But I think we all knew it was the warden. At that moment in the episode, I'm like, bro, it's the warden. Alex says she'll try to track the alien signatures, and Kara says she's headed back to the prison to speak with the warden. So Alex and Kelly, because of all this, is like super upset because she feels like she has failed Joey. And so they head out to the tower balcony where they have a heart-to-heart about, again, Kelly feeling like she failed Joey, like she should have gone through the proper channels, whatever. But Alex is having none of that. She reassures her that she did good and has now enabled them to root out all of this exploitation that is clearly happening. And they wouldn't have known anything about it if Kelly had just like put her head in the sand or just like pushed it off onto somebody else's plate. Kelly is the one getting the work done here, and she's allowing them to get that work done in the proper way, And Kelly tells Alex then actually about her fear vision, and says that she picked up a makeshift shield from the wall and got between the people she loves and the Phantom, and she kind of became this like protector. And she says that in the fear vision she had felt so inadequate with no powers, no brilliance, whatever, and after that she felt amazing to like have picked up the that shield and kind of like put those fears to bed, and she was able to save her friends because of that. And Alex tells her that she's more than capable of being that kind of hero, and that it's only when we take risks that we find out who we truly are meant to be. And they share this really sweet hug. And I love this moment because I love that they have kind of committed to they have committed. I think it's fair to say that they have fully committed to like really talking about the Super Friends' fears and emotions, and I really appreciate that. It makes them all feel so real and so palpable as characters, and especially Kelly in this moment where I understand, like, it's hard to walk into the tower and feel like you have nothing to offer, you know, like Kara, look, that guy, you know, she's got all of these powers, all these insane abilities, and then Alex has, you know, her alien technology that she uses, but she also has her training, and she's been this kind of vigilante for a long time, or, you know, been an agent for a long time. Jean is an alien, Brainy's an alien with this insane intellect, Lena is a human with this insane intellect, Nia has her powers, and I can, you know, it's easy to understand why she would be like, I feel like a nobody. And I love how the show has committed to, like, having Kelly talk about these feelings and then having Alex reassure her and be like, look, there is so much room for you here. And doing what you're doing now is heroic as all hell. And this is your path. And this is what you're meant to be on. And I really appreciated that. I thought it was so wonderful and so well done. And again, such like heartfelt and wonderful performances from Kyler and Ozzy, who just like gave it their all, and you could just feel the love between them on screen. Like, even though they didn't get to kiss in this moment, which I didn't have a huge issue with. I thought the hug was really sweet, and it was just like a reassuring moment for them. Even though they didn't get to kiss, though, they did, like, Alex like wiped Kelly's tears. It was just really sweet. It was a really sweet moment for the two of them, and I loved it. So Kara is actually with the warden at the prison, and he says he does not believe it and that it's impossible that somebody has infiltrated the program. Yeah. Kara says she's going to write a story about what's happening, but he says it would ruin the program and pleads with her to keep this out of the press. He, like, fully snaps at Kara and says that she just needs to drop it, but Kara is clearly not going to take that for an answer. So in Nia's dreamland, Nixley tries again to get Nia to make a deal with her, but Nia refuses. They go back and forth with Nixley even, like, questioning Nia's heroism because of this. Like, saying, like, why won't you help me? You're a hero, right? Like, come on, queen, help me. And Nixley's, like, the kind facade that she's been putting up is definitely falling. And the owl returns and actually starts talking. It's fine. It says that the wise do not follow the words of others, and Nia says that owls are symbols of truth. And Nixley says that the bird is going to eat them. I don't understand. I don't think owls, like, eat people, but it's fine. And Nia literally says that she's like, I don't think it's that deep, Nixley. I don't think it's that deep. And she says that her mother actually revered owls, and clearly, I think the owl is her mom talking to her anyway. But before Nia can actually, like, again, before she can make any kind of decision or whatever, the owl attacks Nixley and Nia leaves her dream. So at Catco, Kara is trying to dig into the warden at the prison, and she asks Willie to contact his CIA contact for some info about him. Andrea approaches them and asks why they haven't been doing the job she told them to do, and complains about the ratings. Kara literally says to her face, who cares about the ratings? That was insane. I'm like, Kara, you are crazy. You're a mad lad, buddy. Oh my god. Andrea fully chews them out after that, though, and but they get back to work on the article that they're doing, not their job. I don't understand how they still have a job. It's fine. So at Joey's foster home, though, Kelly arrives to see the foster lady actually using the power dampeners to, like, hurt Joey, like, to control him, kind of, like, to get him to stop overloading his powers. And it's like, bro, why is it in, like, literally every show, like, foster parents are abusive and horrible? Like, what did the foster system do to, like, TV writers? Why did TV writers hate the foster system so much? I mean, I get it. It's not far off from reality, but it's just funny, like, thinking about shows that I've seen. Like, another example is, like, The Haunting of Hill House. That one, horrible depiction of foster families. And actually, this episode, the more that I think about it, the more that when I was watching it, I totally got, like, Theo Crane vibes from Kelly in this episode, just because she, like, fully committed to helping this child out of this situation and was really, like, the perfect representation of a therapist, you know? And it's so hard to find good therapist representation on television because, like, you know, you look at Lucifer and she's, like, sleeping with Lucifer and it's like, okay. But Kelly was really wonderful in this episode. And she actually steps in and says she's going to protect these kids no matter what. The lady asks if she really thinks anyone has time to watch the security footage, and Kelly's like, I'm gonna make time. I'm gonna make somebody make the damn time. And the lady like fully like challenges Kelly, and Kelly takes that damn challenge and like storms out. And this is the moment when I think Lil Esme picked her mom. She looks on from the top of the stairs, just kind of like, again, like just like with that little like curiosity, but also like admiration, like just this kind of look that she's on to Kelly, like she's looking at her. So that was a really wonderful scene. And then we cut back to Cara and William, and we see that the warden has offshore accounts and crazy beach houses and all kinds of stuff crooked people have that they shouldn't be able to afford on their regular salaries. They put the damn piece together, and they find out that he's behind it all, and they find that he's in the pocket of like some gang, like some guy named Mannheim Inner Gang. I don't know. Have we heard about them before? I would think that I would remember a gang with that name, but I didn't. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The warden makes a call in one of the in his office, and he makes a call to the runaway guard and says the prisoners are going to die after they get the uranium they need. Late at night, then, we see a motorcycle pull up to the foster home, and a helmeted figure jumps the fence and steals the security footage of the foster parent lady abusing Joey using what looks like, if I'm not mistaken by that logo on the front, old Obsidian tech. And she lifts the visor, and it's Kelly. And I think, I mean, I'm just going to keep raving about this, but I think that they could not have done Kelly's evolution into heroism and into guardian and into like vigilanteism in a better way. They could not have done it better, truly, because it's just been this like slow burn of Kelly getting more and more frustrated with her limits of what she can do as a counselor and as a person who cares about kids and about people in general, and like how her job at Obsidian fell apart, and then she felt helpless in helping Alex against the Phantoms, and then she feels helpless in helping Joey, and she decides enough is enough. It's time to take matters in my own hands. And I think that is so cool. It's like the best way that they could have built her up into this vigilante, especially as somebody who doesn't have powers. Because, for somebody like Nia, it's so easy to be like, well, of course she's going to be a hero. Like, she's an alien. She's got cool powers. But for Kelly, it's like they really built her up, and it's so cool to watch. And Ozzy does such a wonderful job. So then at the tower, we see Alex, Jean, and Kara find the location of the aliens. Kara and Jean arrive on the scene and take out the baddies in like 5 seconds. Kara says that they know everything and that they'll take them back to the prison and explain everything, but as soon as she deactivates their power dampening cuffs, they all just want to dip because they're like, bro, we're not going to let you take us back to prison. What are you talking about? Which I fully understand. Like, oh my god. So the next scene is honestly probably like the most controversial of the episode, and what some and me too would probably consider like the lowest point of the episode. But I think there's a lot to talk about from it. So let's get into it. So Kara and Orlando have a conversation as she stops them from fleeing, and Orlando says that Kara could never truly understand what his life has been like, and he tells her that he begged social services to help him and Joey, and they ended up stealing to get them a place to live because nobody wanted to rent an apartment to somebody who was working a minimum wage job because the whole thing was that their parents died and he has to take care of his little brother now. And he tells her that he was like begging the system to help, and he says that system failed him, and then it failed him again in the prison work release program. Like, the system has continued to fail him over and over and over again. Why am I supposed to trust you or anybody else? Like, just let me go. And Kara says that she understands what it's like to be an alien on this planet, and that she's seen the hardships those less fortunate face, and that she's going to help him. And It's a tough moment because it's like, on one hand, Kara is clearly unbelievably privileged. I mean, as the show has addressed before, like, she's blonde, blue-eyed, human passing alien. And she's white, you know, like, there's so many layers of privilege that Kara has. And even off of Earth, she grew up on Krypton, which is like an incredibly flourishing and a technologically advanced planet. And she was part of the royal family on Krypton, like, you know, not the royal family, but like her family was extremely influential and high up on Krypton. So Kara, you know, has really never known like the epic lows of high school football. Sorry. And so it's like, you know, it comes off as like tone deaf in that way, but also at the same time, she kind of like offers to use her privilege to help them, which I think was good. Like, it's kind of almost like the best they can do with Kara, you know, in this kind of situation, because like Kara was of course going to be the person to be on the scene, and like Jean was also there, but they could have had that moment go to Jean and have him talk with Orlando, and I think it would have worked a lot better. But unfortunately, this show is called Supergirl, so they were like, shit, she's our lead hero, you know, she's got to be the one to like do this convincing. She's the symbol of hope. This is her job, which I think was kind of the fault of the moment, you know. But at the same time, I do appreciate that they were like, look, she's going to use her privilege to like help them. And I think that that's, you know, I mean, I've talked about Supergirl before with their rocky relationship with like doing like socially progressive kind of storylines, and they always kind of fumbled the bag and they fumbled the bag again. But I think that they kind of took the best approach that they could have with it, you know. I mean, like trying to, because that was also like a big topic around specifically the Black Lives Matter movement last summer. Was a lot of like conversation about white privilege and about using your privilege to uplift Black voices or to like protect Black people through your privilege. And I think that's kind of what they were trying to do with Kara, but it just, I don't know. I don't know. But then again, I mean, I'm also a white woman, so you know, if other people have like opinions that they want to like chime in on, like I would love to hear it, because I do think that scene had its flaws, and I don't think it worked the way that it should have, and it definitely could have been done better. But I also think we're talking about Supergirl here, so I think that they kind of like did it to the best of their ability, and I don't know. I'm definitely not giving them a pass on it, but it wasn't as horrendous as it could have been, I think. You know, I don't know. But I just, in the moment though, here's my main critique. I wish that they had allowed Kara to kind of like show her hand a little more, because clearly William was currently like running that expose on the warden, and Kara knew that. She knew that they had leverage to not only like you know, argue for a better sentence potentially, you know, depending on the crime, or maybe even be pardoned altogether. You know, Kara knew that she had that going on in the background, and she knew this information that they weren't privy to. I wish that they had her kind of like show her cards a little more, even though technically Supergirl wouldn't have known that either, but I think that she should have kind of like just tossed him a little softball, you know, about like the information that she was holding on to. But one thing that was really, I liked the end of that moment where he says, please don't let us down. And Kara says, I won't. And I liked that moment of the scene. But again, kind of the lowest point of the episode for a lot of people, and for me as well. So later on in that same scene, later on at the same location, William does an interview with Supergirl where she talks about how the prison system failed these prisoners and calls for leniency with the alien workers. Andrea praises William for the press, and Kara and him discuss their new assignment. Kara's still like really frustrated that they have to chase the Super Friends, but Willie says that when Supergirl talks, people listen, and that's great for important stories and spreading awareness. And I really love when they do that, when they treat Supergirl like she is a true influence and like she's this like really important character in National City, because I feel like we kind of lost that in season 5. You know, it was really prominent in season 1, obviously, and then in season 4 we got a lot of that back. But in season 5, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just feel like she wasn't as like National City focused. I mean, she's too focused on Lena, I guess, but but I do love when they treat her like a true influence on the city and a beacon of hope and somebody that people look up to as like I hate to call her an influencer, but she's like an influencer. And I think that's kind of what they were trying to hit at anyway. So at the foster home, the foster lady is taken away, claiming the video to be false. Kelly is there to see Joey get reunited with Orlando, who was pardoned and released. And while she's there, Esme actually approaches Kelly and asks if she did all this. Kelly denies it, but she winks, and she's like, it's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And Esme says that she won't tell her secret, but that she's really happy she did it because the house needed a guardian angel, and now they have Kelly. And I'm like, oh my God. Again, just like with that idea of her like choosing her mom, I just loved the idea of that, of her choosing to like really get attached to Kelly. And I think it's very clear that, of what's going to happen with the two of them. So I love that. I love the line about the guardian angel, because obviously that kind of like dings a light bulb in Kelly's head of being like, hey, guardian angel, it's time to get a shield. Like, come on. So speaking of which, at Kelly and Alex's place, they kiss. Hey, they kissed on the lips. Let's go. And then Kelly tells Alex that she needs to fight for people who the system fails. And she says, quote, "It's time to pick off where Jimmy left off. I want to be the new guardian." And Alex, completely unsurprised by this, brings out something she got from James, and it is the silver guardian helmet. It's not James's guardian helmet. I actually really like this specific guardian helmet. It's probably my favorite, even more so than the golden one, but obviously we haven't seen it on screen, so I will reserve my feelings about it. But I really love this version of the guardian helmet. It looks different from James's version. It's a little bit cleaner, and it goes all the way down the face, which is I think my main like weird thing about Kelly's golden guardian helmet. But I again, we haven't seen it on screen, so I'm reserving judgment, and I obviously still really love it, but just like, this helmet is everything to me. And Alex says that she was inspired to reach out to James by Kelly using the shield during Crisis, and that she thinks there's no better fit for Guardian than Kelly. And then Alex says that they need to train, and it's like, ooh, yes, self-indulgent training scenes. Those are my absolute favorite. I love training scenes, and I'm really excited about seeing them. So in Nia's dreams, she finally makes a deal with Nixley. She uses her powers to shoot down the owl, and we watch as like the sad feathers fall to the ground. And then she makes a deal. She seals the deal with the imp, who apparently imps cannot break their deals. Uh-oh for Nia. Oh, Lord. Obviously, this is a huge mistake, but Nia does not know that. And some people were like, why didn't Kara tell anybody about Nixley? Did you all forget that Kara thought Nixley died? Like, she literally thought she was dead, so she didn't want to talk about the Phantom Zone in general. Why would she go and tell them about a villain that she fought who is now dead? It doesn't make sense to me. So it makes sense that Nia had no idea, and now she's going to unleash Nixley onto National City with assumedly a grudge against Supergirl, and now Nia as well. But there was no promo again for next week's episode, which again is unbelievably upsetting. It, like I said last week, it happened to Black Lightning. Did not happen for Arrow, but it is happening for Supergirl. It's just incredibly disrespectful to the people who've put so much hard work into this show, into these last 13 episodes, and it's so disrespectful to the cast as well. I mean, Ozzy unfortunately saw that they had put out no promo for this specific episode, and she was really disappointed, obviously, because this episode was so important and it was so vital to Kelly, and it featured interesting and topical conversations about the prison system, about the foster system, about racism in different sectors and institutionalized racism. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Jesus. And it just featured like the introduction of Guardian and the introduction of, so many other important plot points. And it's just really disappointing to see them continue to ignore Supergirl. And it's disrespectful to the fan base as well, because there's a huge fan base of people still watching the show, even, if they like to pretend that there's not. On Tuesday, when the episode was airing, the fans trended Guardian is coming for 2 or 3 hours on Twitter, and the peak it reached was number 7 on United States trends, and it trended higher worldwide. It was number 1 in Brazil for a long time. And that was all because fans wanted to push for promotion for Kelly's episode, for this episode that is so vital to the furthering of Kelly's character and to the rest of the series as we see it continue, and to just get the word out there for the people who make this damn show and put so much time and effort and love into the show. I mean, as much as we criticize the writing of the show and the how things might go down, whatever, people still worked really hard on it, and they still make a good product and make a product that they're proud of, hopefully, and that I am excited to see every week. I mean, the promo videos, they just create this hype that is just wonderful. And the thing is, though, that we do have stills from this episode, from the coming episode 610, that are available on Far Far Away site. I will link the gallery for the 610 promo stills in the description or whatever of the episode, in the episode notes or in the description on YouTube, so that you can take a look at them. They feature things like dance and training together, which is wonderful. Brainy's back. Lena is not back, though. She's not quite back yet. But then also, I think Nixley's in it, and there's a couple of others. So you just kind of have to build your own promo, I guess, with the images, with your wildest imagination. But yeah, so it's really upsetting. And there's actually this really wonderful article that was just written today by a writer on Bam Smack Pow that I'll actually link as well, about the mistreatment of Supergirl and how it kind of tarnishes her legacy, because she really paved the way for female superhero-led shows to be on television. She's the reason that we have Batwoman and we have Stargirl and we have so many other series. Because, I mean, if you think about the other series that took place at the same time that Supergirl had come out, it was Agent Carter, and Marvel gave up on that. So, Supergirl and her lasting her lasting series has really done a lot for female superheroes, and I think it's wrong that the CW is just writing them off. But yeah, so anyway, that's all I have for today. I really loved this episode. I hope you did as well. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And you could tweet me at televisedpod. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.